The equation of the function f is given above. I need to find f inverse of x. All right, the way you find the inverse is, first things first, I'm going to call f of x y because it's easier for me to deal with. It's just an ADHD thing for me where if I have f of x instead of y, it's going to look gross and it's going to bother me. Step number one is swap your x and your y values. Okay, swap your x and your y values. So you're now an x equals 2y plus 1 over 4 minus y. Now you solve for your new y. Okay, remember when you have inverses, you flip-flop the x and the y. So in order for me to solve for my new y, I'm going to multiply both sides, and it's going to look kind of sloppy, by 4 minus y, and that allows me to cross that out. So distributive property, I have 4x minus yx equals 2y plus 1. Now, if my job is to get y all by itself, we have a bit of an issue here. We have two y's. So let's move all of the y's to the one side and everything else to the left, or to the right. So I'm going to subtract 2y from both sides. So that crosses out. Now I have negative 2y minus yx, and then plus 4x is still lingering, equals 1. Now let's subtract 4x from both sides. And now I have negative 2y minus yx equals 1 minus 4x. I still have two y's, but oh, if I factor a y out, I now have negative 2 minus x equals 1 minus 4x. Divide both sides by negative 2 minus x. Divide both sides by negative 2 minus x. That crosses out. And you end up with y equals that. Well, I don't want to call it y anymore. I want to call it f inverse. So I'm going to move that over here. F inverse of x is going to equal 1 minus 4x over negative 2 minus x. Now, here's the issue I think I'm going to run into. That double negative on the bottom, they probably don't want that. And looking at what I have here, you might be saying, I don't see any negative x and negative y on the bottom, or negative x and negative 2 on the bottom. So let's do this. Let's multiply the top and the bottom by negative 1. I'm allowed to do that. And when I do that, that flips the sign of everything. So I now have negative 1 plus 4x, positive 2, positive x. And using that information, I should be able to find the guy with the negative 1 and the positive 4x upstairs and the positive 2 and the positive x downstairs, which is that guy, and my answer is D. So even though I did the problem correctly, and it was kind of a mess, I ended up having to do a little bit of math magic to come up with the answer that I wanted. And even though it's written slightly out of order or not in the order that they want, negative 1, positive 4x, positive x, positive 2, D is my guy. Now, if you were allowed to use your calculator here, which you're not, a fun way of making sure that you did this right is graph U and graph U and see if you have mirror reflections of each other, which you should, as long as it's over the x equals y axis, like so. It's not going to be pretty, but it'll be fun graph for you to look at.